George Pickens is officially in Mike Tomlin's doghouse. So, George Pickens on Sunday Night Football, primetime football against the Dallas Cowboys. Everyone's watching. Their best wide receiver going against a defense in the Cowboys that really has been struggling this season. You would think this would be a big game that the Steelers must win, and their best wide receiver would have a big part in it. Well, he was benched. He played 34 of a possible 58 snaps at the wide receiver position. That ranked third amongst the wide receivers on the team for possible snaps on the day. And he's officially now in the doghouse. So, before I get into Mike Tomlin's comments and the reason why he's in the doghouse, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. Also, like this video. Now, let's get right back into it. So, from an outside view looking into the situation, it had to have been something that happened during the week that made George Pickens get benched during the game and made George Pickens have a low reps on the team and really not participate that much in the game and kind of get pulled from the game being benched. So there has to be something that happened during the week. But if we're looking at what didn't happen during the week, because we're not there, we're looking at what actually happened in the game. It could have been George Pickens just taking plays off. George Pickens giving low effort plays and George Pickens not running his routes at full speed, because that's what happened in this game. And this is what happened especially after he was benched for the first time during the game. He wasn't running his routes at full speed. He was kind of jogging through his routes. He was still open, don't get me wrong. On some of the routes that he was running half speed, if the ball was placed exactly where he was open. But he still wasn't giving full effort. And if he was running full speed, it would have been even more wide open. There was also some plays in which George Pickens just didn't run his route at all. George Pickens didn't run his route if the play was to the right side of the field and he was on the left side of the field and it was a rollout play to the right. He just wouldn't run his route and he would stop halfway through or even a quarter through his route. So George Pickens was just giving low effort plays throughout the game, and it was kind of because he was pissed off because he wasn't getting the ball. It was kind of because he was pissed off because he was actually benched during the game. And you even seen his little eye markers, those black stripes across his eyes with a little writing in them. He had it say always open. That was a message he had in those eyes, saying always open. So obviously he's frustrated. He wants the ball. He thinks he's always open, but he's just not getting the ball when he thinks he should. And if we're being completely honest, yes, it's true. George Pickens needs the ball more. He needs to have the ball in his hands early and often. He's the best wide receiver on this team. He's the best player on offense, playmaker on this team. But he's just not consistently getting the ball, consistently having plays drawn up for him. He needs the ball early and often, but he's just not getting it. But that doesn't excuse the fact that he should not be acting and going out of his way to make a problem the way he's been doing it. That doesn't excuse the fact that he shouldn't be doing that. Yes, he needs the ball, but he should not be making a problem out of it. As of right now, if we're going based off last game, he had 7 receptions for 113 yards against the Colts. You would have thought that would have been good enough for him not to maybe put those lines of messages underneath his eyes, because he did have a big game against the Colts. Yes, they lost the game, but he did have a big game. So you think maybe he wouldn't be as frustrated because he actually got the ball a lot with a lot of yards, big production against the Colts. But no, obviously he was still frustrated to have that message by his eyes. But anyway, that's why I'm saying something has to have happened during practice, because during the game, it's really hard to just pull someone and bench someone when they're your top target. So it must have been something during the week in which the coaches didn't like or Tomlin didn't like, so they just cut his reps basically almost in half. So you look at this, but Mike Tomlin was asked about this after the game, and he gave this quote. Obviously, he's going to give this quote, but before I even say it, there's obviously no reason why he would say that he purposely benched George Pickens for no reason. So he said that there's basically nothing going on and they're just keeping his reps on a low right now. Here's his quote on why George Pickens didn't play as much. You know, we just wanted to kind of minimize his reps in an effort to get more productivity. You know, we're just trying to rep manage in terms of the totality of the big picture. He wasn't less of a focal point in terms of our intentions of what we want to do offensively, but we did want to cut his reps a little bit in an effort to get higher quality play, just in general. It's no different than how we minimized some of the snaps of the D linemen, like Cameron Hayward, and so forth. Man, it is just about snap management. It's no underlying story, to be quite honest with you. End quote. So, do you believe what Mike Tomlin has to say about George Pickens just managing his snaps? No, me personally, I don't believe it. I think there's a different story. There is an underlining story on this, because there's no way that he's your third receiver in terms of snaps. It's no way. He's not injured. There's something not going on with him. I don't think he's injured, but there's no way that he's not injured, but he's not playing the most amongst your wide receiver when he's your best playmaker on the team. Him just being out there gives the defense someone to worry about. But no, he was just not out there. Like I said, 34 of a possible 58 snaps. Van Jefferson was out there more. It seemed as though Calvin Austin was out there more. I think Calvin Austin should be out there more. But Van Jefferson being out there more than George Pickens, no, that just doesn't make sense. George Pickens is your best player on offense, other than maybe Justin Fields. So if he's your best player on offense, he's your best wide receiver, he's basically the only one who is even doing anything at the receiver position in terms of targets, receiving yards, tight ends, touchdowns and everything like that. And he's not out there. It just gives no one for the defense to worry about. And they could just come up, stack up on the run, and it just makes completely no sense. Why would you have Van Jefferson out there more than George Pickens? He's not your number one wide receiver. George Pickens is. George Pickens is the playmaker on your team. And when you look around the league, no other team is doing that. No other team is managing the wide receiver's snaps like a defense lineman. That's just not how it works around the NFL. The wide receivers play almost every single snap, and thus maybe there's some times where they get breaks. They're not taking off 20 plus plays to manage their reps, to get more productivity out of them. That's just not how it's going around the league. So the Steelers saying this, that's just Mike Tomlin saying something to say something, so then no one reads into it. But obviously, people are reading into it, and it has to be something going on. And like I said, in my eyes, it's one of two things. Something happened during the week, and the Steelers are upset and frustrated at the way that George Pickens has been acting, in which we obviously seen before in the outbursts that he's had on the sideline. Do I believe it's that? I have no clue. Or do I believe, hey, he may have been benched because of his low effort plays that he's been showing and continually been putting on tape? Even him going half speed, to be honest, is better than Van Jefferson going full speed. If we're being completely honest in the situation, I'd rather have George Pickens out there going half speed than Van Jefferson going full speed. But obviously, the Steelers want full effort all the time, and I get that. I get why the Steelers bench someone if they're not giving full effort. But in my eyes, it's one of those two things, and the reason why George Pickens was in the doghouse officially in this game. To be honest, it seemed as though it was even less than 34 snaps that George Pickens was on the field. It seems like he was only on the field when the Steelers were for sure going to throw it, and not even out of play action or anything like that. It seemed like George Pickens was only on the field when they're doing straight dropbacks or on third down in a must-throw situation. To be honest, on first down, second down, when it was a play action or a bootleg or something like that, it just feels as though George Pickens was not even on the field. George Pickens is not even being looked at. Is other guys being utilized? And this isn't even the first week that this has happened. It's not even really just this week in which George Pickens didn't play a lot. It seems like George Pickens is out of the game so many times on first and second down, just all season long. Especially when they go to the big tight end package, they put in Scotty Miller for some reason as your blocking wide receiver. They put in Van Jefferson as a blocking receiver, thinking that they're better blocking receivers than George Pickens. George Pickens has shown he could be a blocker when he's fully focused. So to be honest, this is not just a this week thing, it's been a previous week thing as well. So that's why there has to be an underlying story, and we just need to get to a bottom of it. Anyway, this is my thoughts on the topic. This is kind of the thoughts of Mike Tomlin on the topic as well. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on George Pickens being in the doghouse, and do you think this now leads to the Pittsburgh Steelers even being more focused on going out and trying to get a wide receiver and train for Davante Adams? Do you think this is a last straw? Do you think George Pickens will be on the trade block very soon? and you think Davante Adams will be a Pittsburgh Steeler because of it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And also, like I said, make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news, updates, highlights, analysis, and reports, and just stories like this and stuff going on around the team. If this story continues to develop and George Pickens is further benched from this team or further something going on around the team, I'll be sure to let you know. But until then, like, comment, subscribe, turn notifications, and I'll see you guys all later. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.